Is there such a thing as marital rape? Many Christians and even church leaders would say no. They would say things like, it's not rape if you're married. Or the Bible says, your body's not your own. You're supposed to submit to your husband, even sexually. Or, if you keep your husband sexually happy, he won't go hungry. As if his choice to have an affair or look at porn would then be your fault for not giving him enough sex. Now, these statements miss the point. Rape isn't about sex. It's about power and control over another person. Any healthy relationship must allow the individuals in that relationship the freedom to say no if it's going to be safe and healthy for both of them. Sex, even in marriage, requires two consenting adults. If your husband forces unwanted intercourse with you, it's called rape, not marital intimacy. There's something really messed up around the teaching in the passage of 1 Corinthians 7. Here's what it says. The husband should give his wife her conjugal rights, and likewise the wife to her husband. For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but his wife does. So don't deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement, for a limited time that you might devote yourselves to prayer, but then come together again so that Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. The context that Paul is referring to is that he's answering a question from new Christians who are married, but have been taught that abstinence is a good thing, even if you're married. Paul tells them, no, that's not true. Don't deprive one another because of this wrong teaching about abstinence. But the most important word here in this passage is the word likewise. You see, every woman in biblical times knew her conjugal duties. Patriarchal culture was the rule. And so what Paul is saying here is the same rule that applies to a wife applies to her husband. But that's not how it's traditionally used. A husband will often hold this passage over his wife's head to demand sex. He will say, see, you have no right to say no. The Bible says, your body is mine. I'm entitled to sex whenever I want. But that kind of selfishness goes against everything else the Bible teaches. For example, in Romans 12:10, it says, love one another with a brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. Ephesians 5:25 tells husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. And 1 Corinthians 13 says, love does not demand its own way. And Acts 20:35 says it's more blessed to give and receive. And Romans 13 says love does no harm. Sexual love in marriage is all about having trust and safety. That's why God tells you to wait until you have safety and trust of a committed marriage to have sex. God's not telling a woman here she has no right to say no. Her no should be respected, just like his no. There is nothing in the Bible that condones a husband forcing his wife into sex anytime he wants just because he's the husband. And if your husband forces or manipulates you into performing sexual acts that harm you, your body, humiliate your soul, make you uncomfortable or hurt you, it may be that he wants to reenact pornography that he's been watching. God does not ask you to submit to all of your husband's deviant sexual fantasies. And so if you've been a victim of marital rape, I am so sorry. It's wrong. God hates when someone treats another person like an object to use instead of a person to love, especially so in marriage, where promises to love, honor, cherish, and protect have been so cruelly violated. Please don't keep this a secret or feel that you must continue to participate in the unfruitful deeds of darkness in this marriage. In most states, marital rape is a crime punishable by real jail time. Tell someone. You can even call the police if necessary to get this to stop. God has given us legal authorities to help protect us against evildoers and those who harm us. You are not dishonoring your vows or disappointing God if you say no more to cruel, unforced, unwanted sexual intercourse.